Hi guys, basically I'm just picking up where I left off in the last video. I know you noticed I have on a different shirt than in part one. It's because I made that video about 3 or 4 days ago. I didn't upload it because because these guys who made a very derogatory and lengthy video response to what I had to say. They weren't man enough to actually they weren't men enough to actually hear out all my points. So what they did was they decided to delete it, so I wasn't able to respond to them. But I'm just going to go ahead and put the videos out anyway. I just like to say, that these people are childish. They're crazy. Like I said in the first video, the overwhelming majority, I'd say about 98% of these men are ex-convicts who were sold what I'm calling a victimhood theology based on black supremacy, on the premise that they don't, that their mistakes aren't really their own. They don't have to pay for anything they've done. It's all a direct result of the white man and how the system is being manipulated, in order to imprison black people. And it's a struggle between Esau and Jacob, and blah 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 this and blah 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 that. They go off on they go off on these tirades. They confront these defenseless women. And I noticed that most of these groups are up north. Except for the one that I made the video response to called ManUpJacob out of Texas. And if you have a chance, go ahead and check them out. Like I said in one of my videos, like these people, like sometimes if you sit and you listen to them in a way that's not, when they're not being confrontational, they have a very charismatic message. But one thing we know that charisma does not equal truth. And they purposely leave out verses. They purposely leave out sections and portions of verses in order to emphasize their points. And it's all really sad. Like they're and when you don't agree, and any man that doesn't agree with them is a homosexual. Any woman that doesn't agree with what they have to say is a whore, a slut, a black bitch. And there are a plethora there's a plethora of different terms, that they use to refer to people who think differently than they do. And one thing that says about them, number one, first of all, this shows their educational level. That's number one. Number two, it shows their level of maturity. No grown man or grown woman, especially these people who are obviously 30 plus, standing out, chanting, and standing out with about 10 men, chatting around with one woman. You're a whore. You're a whore, you're a slut, you're a slut. I mean, basically, bringing the poor woman to tears, it's really sad. That this blatant form of bigotry still exists in this day and age. And what's even more sad is that they're African Americans and that they're doing it to other African Americans. Like I said in the first video, I've never been called such a derogatory racial term by anybody of any race except for these people. I've never been called a Sambo. I've never been said I've been put on a minstrel show. I've never been called all of the thises are like they escape me at the moment, mostly because, I didn't take them to heart, mostly because I don't care, because I'm mature enough, because number one, I'm mature enough, and I'm adult enough, to get my point across without having to resort to asinine behavior like name calling, and to writing egregious comments on videos about, to people who don't think like I do, and that, and like I said, it speaks to their level of maturity, because because people who do things like that, and granted, there's a certain level of anonymity over the internet, not really on YouTube because your face is out there. I mean, but there is a certain level of anonymity, with the comments, because you can write whatever you want to write. You can basically say whatever you want to say, and not have to give an account for who you are. You never have to face these people individually, and to me, they have problems with anybody who's educated, anyone who's received any type of formal education or is educated by the educational system in the U.S. Has been indoctrinated by the devil. Something that I found out that was very interesting, that lets you know that you shouldn't believe anything these people say, is that these wackos, and to be honest, wacko is a term that's too good. These nut jobs, these Imbeciles believe that a man that used to produce Jay-Z's music videos is the Holy Spirit of God that the Bible speaks of. How dense do you have to be, ladies and gentlemen? America, it's like they all suffer from a collective form of mental retardation that's passed through osmosis. It's amazing, and they believe, and you can tell, and one thing, you can always identify the underlings and the people who know nothing in a cult, in a cult, because they're the people who can't come against what you have to say. They're the people, who just keep saying the same thing over and over and over again. You know why? Because that's what they were trained to do. See, these higher ups, and to be honest and truthful, all these men are truthfully, they're probably eunuchs. I'm pretty sure some of them are gonna have to look that word up because they don't know what it means. I'm pretty sure, because if you notice, you never see any of them with any women. Mostly probably because no woman will put up with what they have to say. At least not in this day and age, anyway. And they probably give all their money, to the guy who rides around in a tour bus, who has bodyguards, and they wear these ridiculous outfits, some of which they look like they're made out of throw rugs, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get a bunch of crazy, comments and responses. Not that I care, not that I give a shit, because like I said, if I'm gonna allow myself to become insulted, it's not going to be by someone like you. It's not going to be by someone that has absolutely no education and that's going off of something that somebody taught them. They say they know Greek and they know Hebrew, and in actuality, all they know is words and phrases, and they repeat them like and they recite them brainlessly. How parrots can speak, but they just have the ability, because their vocal cords are so advanced. They have the ability to mimic the sounds that are coming out of our mouths, which is nothing, because words are nothing but sounds. And that's what these people do. They mimic and they reproduce things that they hear other people say, but they have no knowledge and no understanding of what these terms actually mean. If you just sit and you just listen and you just look, half of these people can't even read English properly. And I shudder to think what their writing skills are like. So if you can't read and write your first language, you can't. You certainly aren't able to interpret the meanings of words or pronounce words from the second language. I said it's really sad. Don't believe anything these people have to say. And if you see them, just walk past them. If you see them, just walk past them. If they try to stop you and sell you